So today we're going to be working on doing our treehouse design. We watched a little bit of the Treehouse Masters and what Pete Nelson did for the insides and just how tree houses really have grown up and are really unique and different. So today we're going to be working on drawing that background piece and only doing the house first and the details, possibly even adding on a deck and the bridge today. And then the next time we meet, we're going to go outside if the weather is well. And my goal is that we can look at the tree, see how trees form, how the bases look, how branches come off, and just really have that concept of building the tree around our tree house, because our focal point is the tree house itself, and then the tree is what will frame it. So here is just a start of an example that we were doing in another class. You can see that we started doing the house, but then just to give you a concept or idea of the tree branches coming out and then the big tree going all the way down the paper. So we want to do our paper in portrait style, where it's vertical, just to give it that illusion of height. And then we're going to do a little bit of perspective to give ourselves that, just off look, to be able to have more features to it. So this is one that I started with a class. And then another one with a little more detail, it's not quite done too, just to give you a showing of it, is this one. So we were talking about, wow, if we could have an elaborate tree house, what would we do? Would we add in, would the tree itself start coming through? Would we build around it the way we looked at in Treehouse Masters and how Pete Nelson did that with some of the trees? Or maybe the tree is built within the home even too. So here somebody was like, oh, I wish I could have a pool. So here's a little bit of a pool, some lounge chairs, a table, you've got your nice fence border. Your deck itself does not have to be a perfect shape. It could be however you're forming it. And then maybe you have a deck or, so you can see this one's not finished on this side here, but maybe you would add in some, the next railing and some more tree branches back here, or scenery. Maybe you want to have it overlooking the mountains in the back, or maybe it's overlooking a beautiful lake. So what stands out to you? But what I wanted to show you is, here's some more of the branches that are going on, and then I started adding some leaves at the bottom there as well as up here at the top. But I want you to notice that these leaves are just quick scribbles. So when I do the scribble, I just kind of do like almost an infinity shape, just kind of going back and forth like an infinity, going in like a figure 8, very lightly, and kind of go over it a couple times, and it gives it that neat look. So when you're adding your details today, after we've drawn the house itself together, you can change it up. You can add in anything that you want to do with it. But ideally, I don't like to start with a very sharp pencil. I like to have a little bit of a dullness to it. And when you have the dullness, it gives you the ability to do that really neat light tones and then darker tones, and to be able to put your pencil on the side or even like this to get some of those other little shades and shadows in there. So don't worry if your pencil's not perfectly sharp. I actually prefer it. But let's get going and start building on our tree house itself, and then I'll show you, first the house, how to add on a deck, and then how to do the bridge. And the rest of it you can do on your own until we do the tree. The first thing to add our tree house is we don't want to have it all the way at the very top, and we also don't want it at the very bottom of our page. We want it kind of in that, not the middle, but the happy middle of the top half, if that makes sense. So imagine there's an imaginary line in the middle of your paper, and we want it just above that imaginary line. So the first thing you're going to do is grab a ruler and a pencil. After you have both of these, the next step is I want to clarify how to use a ruler. Meaning, I am a lefty, so I will use my pencil on the left side of the ruler because that's where it's closest to me, being a lefty. Now for you, it will probably, if you are righty, you're going to be the same other way, where you're using your right hand and you are drawing on the right side of the ruler closest to you. So do the opposite of me, or what feels comfortable, but what I don't want to see is anybody crossing over, because you're not very sturdy, or you're not going to draw a nice long line that's straight using the wrong side of your ruler. So the next thing that you're going to do is we're going to draw a triangle. So you turn your ruler and you do just a triangle. Okay. After you've drawn your triangle, the next step, and I'm going to slide this over a little bit because I have this bump thing here, is you're going to not draw a straight line off of the top of your triangle. You're going to angle it down just a little bit. And then you're going to draw that line, not all the way to the very, very end, but enough. If you happen to go off the page, that's completely fine. It'll just look like your treehouse is going off the page and you're just seeing it from this one scene. So remember, we make beautiful oopses. Don't worry about erasing. The next step is, I'm going to be taking my ruler and I'm going to look at it and realize, so if you're you're righty, this is what you'll do, is you're going to take your ruler and you're going to match it with that one corner of the triangle, the one side, and you're going to slide your ruler over, and that way it still has that angle, and I'd like you to draw it again. Okay, so if you're a lefty like me, you'll have it on this side, and you slide it all the way over. There it is. Then I would draw it, and it's about the same length as the first one. So right now it looks like we're drawing a tent. Now you're going to connect those two sides together. Okay, you can even connect the base of your triangle too. So it looks like a prism. Now we're going to do the fun part. We want to have that one wall really pop off and stand out at us. So what you're going to do is make sure your ruler is absolutely vertical. You want it perfectly straight, and then you're going to come off that one corner of your triangle and you're going to draw a nice straight line. So you can make this as tall as you'd like, but obviously not to the bottom of the page. Good. Then the next one, we're going to come all the way over here. You're going to do the same thing, but I want it half of this one. So not the whole same length. I don't want it equal. I want it to be half the length of it. So the ruler is nice and straight, and you just kind of eyeball and make it halfway. If it's not perfect, that's fine. I just don't want it to be equal. After you've done that, now you're going to connect the two bottom pieces of those lines together. Okay. Next, you're going to draw on this one here. You're going to draw the same thing, not all the way the same length. It could be a little bit longer. It doesn't have to be half. Good. And then you connect it. So you can see each time you draw your tree house, it's going to be a little different. So this one that I did here, it's nice and long, but I also made it a little wider. That's because my triangle was a little bit bigger. And then my first one, my triangle was really big, and I did not make it as long. So it's about however you are putting it together. Each time you do it, it's going to be a little different. And that's what makes each of these a little unique. So the next step after you have this is we're going to talk about adding doors, windows, decks, and adding on, the bridge or stairs or steps.